So as I mentioned before, welcome back. We're going to be looking at the last inventory costing method, and we're going to be looking at moving average for perpetual inventory, okay? Now, because we're going to be looking at moving average, not weighted average, okay? You could also refer to both methods as average costing, okay? That makes the most sense for all of it, but in terms of terminology, as long as you know that you're taking an average, you should be okay. All right? So when we look at moving average, right? We have the same exact formulas except for one difference. One difference, and that's we're going to be tweaking the cost per item. All right? So in this case, our main focus here is that when we purchase our inventory, right? Where we calculate the cost per item, right? But in this case, because we're selling our products as well and getting rid of our inventory and updating it as well, we have to now have this what we call the average cost per item. So in this case, we're going to be focusing primarily on constantly recalculating the average cost per item, because every time we purchase inventory, we have a different total cost. Every time we subtract inventory, we have a different total cost and a different total quantity. So our goal here is that we're going to be constantly updating our inventory and constantly be calculating our average cost per item, which hence shows us in direction that we're going to be moving the average cost along, all right? So let's go ahead and take a look. So everything's the same except for one thing, the average cost per item, and that's the one that we're going to be focusing on calculating every single time we make a purchase and every single time we sell an item, okay? So again, let's take a look at our scenario here, right? So on June 1st, we purchased 100 toys at $1.25 with the freight costing $25. So right off the bat, just exactly how we've been doing it, right? We're just going to plug our numbers into the purchases area in our inventory worksheet, right? We're going to calculate our total purchase price, which right here gives us 125 plus 25 gives us a total cost of 150. Now here, since it's our only batch in our first batch of the month or in our general start of the date, we are going to take my average cost per item, because in this case, right, my assumption is, what if this is my only batch of inventory? Well, then I'm going to go ahead and calculate my average cost per item right now, because if this is going to be my only batch of inventory, then I need to calculate how much it's going to cost me per item to sell. So in this case, right, it's going to be $1.50. All right? Then let's see what happened next. So here, for our first scenario on June 3rd, we end up selling 55 toys, okay? So once again, I'm going to go ahead and focus on my cost of goods sold section, right? In this case, right, I'm just looking at my average, my first batch here, which is going to cost me $1.50. It's my only batch of inventory that I have. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this 150 and I'm going to place it right here, and I'm going to calculate what it's going to cost me to sell 55 of those toys. So in this case, right, like we've seen before, I've calculated that I had $82.50 worth to sell 55 toys at $1.50. So once again, what we're going to do is we're going to subtract it out, and then we're going to get a new cost here, right? because now I only have 45 items left and it's costing me $67.50, right? Now, because we sold something, right? Best thing that you could do is that you would normally run your average cost per item. So in this case, if I did, it would still result to me to have the same number. It's still going to be $1.50. Okay. But now we come across here, and now on June 5th, we end up purchasing an additional 100 toys, this time at $1.28, and freight is 26. So let's take a look, right? Now we have a new entry because we're purchasing inventory. I have 100 toys at $1.28 to give me a total of 128 purchase price, plus 26 to give me a total of 154. Now this is where we need to stop here because we're not keeping track of this batch here, right? In this case, right, because we're using moving average, we don't care which batch came first, and we especially don't care about which batch came last. All we care about is a collective amount of inventory on hand and what it cost me in grand total. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my two numbers together, right? I'm going to add my quantities together and I'm going to add my total costs together. And here, so therefore, I have a total in grand total right now, right? 45 plus 100 gives me 145 toys. And then again, $67.50 plus $154 gives me a grand total of $221.50, right? And this is where I need to calculate my average cost per item, because if I do plan to sell my inventory, right? I'm only focusing on one number, and that's the average cost per item. And in this case, I have a new quantity and a new total cost. So in this case, right, I need to recalculate and take my total cost and spread it across evenly amongst my 145 toys to give me my average cost per item. Therefore, every time I sell an item, it's going to cost me X amount of dollars for selling one item. So in this case, right, it's the same exact formula. You're going to take your total cost and divide it by your total quantity, which in this case gives me a grand total of $1.52.75. Okay, right? So of course, if you look at what this should be, right, the second batch should be $1.54. $1.54 and $1.50. What's in the middle? $1.52. Pretty straightforward, right? It's in the middle between them, and you're taking your new total cost, and instead of keeping them separate, you're going to spread them evenly across every single item that you have. Okay? So is everyone good so far?
Why are you saying that this is the easier method? Because it's easier to calculate without having to worry about what batch was first or last, or
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? And here's the idea here. Every time we make a purchase, we're going to update my inventory and get my totals, right? Every time I sell something, I'm going to also recalculate my average cost per item, right? The first one I didn't do because I already know I only have one batch of inventory. It doesn't really change, okay? So now we have 145 available items. Let's see what happened next, right? June 10 rolls around and I end up purchasing an additional 100 toys for $1.30. Okay, so I plug my numbers in once again. I have $1.30 plus 27 gives me $1.57. Excuse me. But I don't calculate my cost per item here, since I have now introduce another purchase. So in this case, I'm going to add this batch in, and now I'm going to get a grand total of 245 items at a total cost of $378.50. So here, right, I need to know what my grand total available that I have on hand with my grand total cost. So in this case, I just purchased more inventory. So I've increased my quantity, and as well as I've increased my total cost. So in this case, now that I have my grand totals, now I need to recalculate my average cost per item, because now it's no longer at 154. I'm sorry, 152.75, right? Because now we are introduced to another batch of inventory. So in this case, if I calculate, if I take my $378.50 and divide it by my 245 items, I should get now a total of $1.5448. Okay? So every time I sell something, it's gonna cost me $1.5448. All right. So then let's take a look here. Let's take a look at what happened on June 12th, because in this scenario, right, we ended up selling 120 toys. Okay. So here, because we're using moving average or just average costing in general, right, for this type of inventory, right? Since we don't care which batch came first or which batch came last, all we care about is a total grand quantity, then my cost of goods sold is also easier to calculate, because I just go ahead and put the whole thing in there, right? I just plop down my whole entire 120. And now I'm going to take a look at this. Since I only have one batch of inventory, right, because I mixed them all together, it's going to cost me $1.5448. So in this case, right, I'm going to take that number, pop it there. I'm going to calculate it and make sure I round to the nearest penny to give me a grand total of $185.39, right? So then just from this right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract it out from my inventory to get me now a new total quantity and a new total cost, right, to become 125 items, right, at a grand total of 193.11. And once again, because I'm dealing with rounding off numbers, I need to recalculate my average cost per item. In this case, it's still going to be $1.5448. Okay, that stays the same. All right. So then once again, we note that at the end of the 15th, right, we should have a grand total of 125 toys on hand. All right. Good so far? Pretty straightforward. The most easiest one to calculate. Okay. So then what happens when we have beginning inventory? Same idea here, right? We're going to take my 125, right? Instead of separating, right? Because right now they're all together in one cluster, right? So in this case, I'm going to transfer that 125 for the 193.11, which is, we already know average cost right now is $1.5448. I want to transfer that amount over, right? Because this is what I am going to start my inventory worksheet with. I don't care what came first. I don't care what came last. I'm just going to carry everything over and keep my average cost like that, right? And of course, as I go through the scenario, June 15, I end up selling an additional 90 toys. So it's exactly like that, right? I just put the whole entire 90 items in there, right? I already know it's going to cost me $1.5448. So I'm going to calculate that to give me a grand total of $139.04 as my total cost of goods sold. And of course, with this right here, I'm going to subtract it out from my inventory to now give me an updated version saying that I should have 35 items left, once again, at $54.07. And once again, I'm going to also recalculate my average cost per item, and it still stayed the same. Okay? So then next, I have here is that on June 21st, all right, I purchased an additional 100 toys, but this time at $1.32. I plopped that in there in my purchases, okay, and same thing's going to happen here. I'm going to calculate my total cost. So in this case, my purchase price is $132 plus $26 of freight to give me a total of $158. And once again, since I just purchased a new batch of inventory, now I must add them all together to give me a grand total of $135, would add a grand total cost of $212.07. And then now I'm going to go ahead and recalculate my average cost per item, which should bring me to now this time it's going to be $1.5708. Okay. So as you can see, the trend here is that every time I'm purchasing something, I add my numbers together and I calculate my average cost per item. All right. Same idea for the left side, right? If I sell something, I'm going to subtract it out. I'm going to recalculate my new quantities so I can recalculate my new average cost per item. Okay. So once again, let's take a look at my scenario. So I've just entered in my purchases on the 21st of June. And look, here I have another purchase on the 25th of June for another additional 100 toys. All right, so same idea here. We're going to calculate my total cost, but this time I need to add my numbers together, right? So now I have 235 instead of 135, right? I just purchased another 100 toys. And it's costing me now $374.07, which once again, I need to recalculate my new average cost per item, and that's going to now bring me to $1.59 and 17 cents. Okay. So as you can see right here, as we make our purchases, we're moving the average along, right? We're constantly recalculating our average over and over and over again. Okay. And in this case, right, your numbers could change by 10,000th of a penny, all right? But once again, if you're selling thousands of items, that extra penny that 10,000th of a penny will drastically change your inventory, especially if you're constantly selling over and over and over again. So definitely a factor that you want to consider when you're calculating your average cost per item. Okay, not to round too early. Okay. So then on the 27th of June, we sold 120 toys, right? So once again, I'm going to plop that information right here in my left table here. I sold 120 items, which I know from my average cost per item right now, it's going to cost me $1.5917. Okay. So once again, we're going to calculate that amount to give me $191.01, which once again, we're going to subtract that number out to give us a new total cost of $183.06 at a total quantity of 115. So once again, because we sold something, right, and we're subtracting it at a rounded number, we need to recalculate my average cost per item. And look, this is what I mean by when you recalculate it, you could have a difference that's 10,000th of a penny off. In this case, this is 1,000th of a penny, right? So here, if I sell 1,000 toys, that's one whole dollar that I could potentially gain or lose. Okay. So in this case, right, I had it at 159.17. Now it's 158.18. 159.18. Excuse me. So there you go. That's that right there. But let's see what happens next. Then on the 28th of June, I end up selling another additional 65 toys, right? Boom, 65. But this time it's $59.18, which gives me 103.47. Which once again, if I take it out from my inventory and I recalculate my total quantities and my total cost, now I have 50 items left on inventory, right? That's exactly what it said on June 30th, that you should have a total of 50 items left on inventory. Boom. There it is, my 50 items, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so you had 235, and then you sold 120, which left with 115. Why did the price per item change?
Because when we sell our items, right, we sold it at a rounded number. Okay, so in this case, right, because we are dealing with a 59.17, if you keep extending this number out to 191, it's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be 009 something something something. It's gonna go on, so it's gonna keep going on. But in this case, right, we cannot cost or sell to our customers half a penny or a quarter of a penny or whatever it is, right? We must round up. So in this case, this number becomes rounded, all right? And when we round our answers on our cost of goods sold and we subtract it out from our inventory, right? We are now, right, rounding our answers down also by a penny as well. So in this case, right, if this was a penny different, if this was just 191 even, right, then your average cost per item could stay the same. But in this case, I rounded my answer up to that 1 penny. So when I subtract it out, now it's giving me less amount. And if it's less amount and I'm recalculating my total cost against my total quantity, then yes, your cost per item can change, and it won't change that much. It will change by, like I mentioned before, it could change by 1,000th of a penny or 10,000th of a penny. It really depends on what it is. But in this case, that's the reason why. It's because we're rounding in our cost of goods sold, which then when we subtract it out from our total quantity, it's giving us a more rounded number, which could show us, right, in our books, it could be either significantly less or it could be significantly lower. So if you round up here, you could potentially change your average cost. If you round down, your average cost could possibly stay the same.
Okay. You're still selling the same items. I guess I'll understand a little bit more down the road. But to me, it's like the 120 items and the 65 are out of the same batch, correct?
Yes, they are from the same batch, but pull your calculator out. Since I am looking at, okay, my 115, right? That's what you want to look at. For my 115, okay, the step before that. So my 235, right? My number right now is $374.07. That's my total cost, right? But what my goal is, I'm trying to spread this total cost evenly across 235 items. Okay? So therefore, like go ahead and calculate it. You should get one, right, 11597. Good, right?
87.
Now, because I sold this 120 items, I calculated for that total amount. But because I'm subtracting this 10101, right? This number right here, I rounded up. Okay? So because of this 1 penny, that is the reason why now my total cost now is reflecting at 163.06 or 183.06. Now because I'm taking 101.8306, I have to take this cost now and spread it evenly across 115 items.
Yeah,
So because it's the total cost that's changing is the reason why your average cost will change.
got it.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Because
Thank you.
we're not dealing with unrounded numbers. We're looking at rounded numbers. So
Okay.
that's just how it is, right? Every time you sell something, we're rounding our numbers to the nearest penny because you can't sell to a customer half a penny. You must round up or round down depending on the decimal point after that, right? So in
So
this
every
case,
time you sell something, you subtract that amount, and then the the um, the cost gets again divided up among the items you have left.
mm-hmm. And
Okay.
yes, and yes.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So once again, now I have 50 items here. And now I have a grand total of 79.59. So which once again, since I sold something, I'm going to go ahead and recalculate my average cost per item and look now. It is now the same thing, right? It is now 15918. So in this case, right, it's after it made its change, it's still changing now, right? So in this case, right now we have a new total cost of $79.59, and now we got to take that and spread it across evenly amongst the 50 items I have available. All right. So this is why we call this moving average. Is because we're constantly calculating our average, right? Every time we make a purchase, we got to change our average. Every time we sell an item, we got to we got to update our average. Okay. And in this case, right, the idea here is that you're constantly having a new total quantity and a new total cost. So what your goal here is you're trying to spread the cost evenly amongst every single item. Okay.
In what scenario actually would this be used? I mean, like, uh, um, as opposed to using the previous process.
So this one, like let's say I'm a grocery store, right? I sell water. Water is something I consistently have to keep purchasing and something I have to consistently keep selling, right? Because everybody needs water. Okay. So in this kind of scenario, right, instead of having to keep track of, oh, okay, this batch I bought for this amount of money, and this batch I bought this amount of money, right? At the end of the day, water doesn't really have a shelf life, right? It could last forever. So at this point, I could take from any batch, and in this point, I just put it out into the store, and whoever buys it buys it. So in this case, right, instead of having to look at um, what batch came first or what batch came last, right, and looking at profit margins there, I'm just going to go ahead and take what I total purchased in grand total, and I'm just going to spread the cost evenly. So therefore, I don't make too much of a profit, but nor do I make too much of a loss. I'm like right in the middle.
Okay.
Okay. So yes. So in this case, right, um, it's also a product that I'm constantly selling, right? But in this case, this is the most easiest form because, again, for a grocery store that sells not only produce, they sell, food that you can store for a long time. You could also sell home houseware products like cleaning supplies, or even like things that have a long shelf life, waters or something like that, something that's a natural resource, right? So for a company that has all those products that they sell, right? It only makes sense instead of having to say this one's weighted average, or moving average, this one's FIFO, and that one's LIFO, right? It's only someone in their right mind that if they have to keep track of every single item and make sure that they know exactly which inventory method to use, it's just easier to just go ahead and use the average costing, or in this case, this is moving average, because it makes it that much easier on the company to go ahead and, calculate, right? Because if they do have all those varieties of in their store, right, it's going to take them a lot longer to keep track of inventory and update all the time. Okay, but once again, most likely, like a lot of stores, right, when they sell a product, usually they kind of typically have sales, or they try to get rid of their items as soon as possible, right? So that's like the idea where when they make a purchase, not all the stuff is going to really go bad. Okay. But that's the idea here, is that make it a lot more simpler for a company to go ahead and calculate their inventory. Okay. Now, of course, when we dive into QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks does the accounting math work for you automatically. So in this case, right, all you have to do is just add your inventory every time you purchase, every time you sell an item. It just calculates it behind the scenes, and you don't need to do anything, right? And because it's an automated kind of program, right, you're able to just go ahead and click on the reports, and you're able to see how much inventory stock you have at all times. So that's the great thing about technology, is that when you're dealing with an inventory type of system, right? If your purchasing person purchases a whole bunch of inventory, right? Your inventory manager can easily pull up a list and run a report and say, well, this is all the items I have left available. And they all have barcodes. So they just easily scan the barcode, and boom, they can pop up and, basically sell the product right then and there. All right. So that's moving average. Right? Any questions?
Not for me.
Okay. So once again, here is a review on perpetual inventory. When we're looking at FIFO, okay, we're looking at every purchase that we make, right? We are subtracting our inventory as we go. Okay. Hold on. This is yeah. Anyways, yeah. So when we're looking at this, right, we're starting from the very first batch of inventory, right? We're going to make our way down to the very last one. Okay, so every purchase that we make, and every time we sell our goods, we're constantly keeping track of which batch came first, because in this idea, right, we're looking at maybe these items are going to go bad. So we need to make sure that we sell out all of our first batches of inventory, right? We start from the top and slowly make our way down to the bottom. Okay. With LIFO, right, we have the same exact scenario, but in this case, right, we're looking at making our our batches, our purchases of inventory, right? We separate our batches, and then instead of this time, right? Every time we sell our items, we're going to be looking at which batch came last. All right, so in this case, right, we could have leftover beginning inventory or the first batch of inventory that we purchased. We could still have the items that we have left over in the middle somewhere. So in this case, right, every time that we sell a product, right, we're looking at which batch came in last. So there's no real direction here, but we are constantly going from bottom to top, and we're going to continue going bottom to top every time we make a purchase. Okay. And then last but least, of course, we are looking at moving average, which in this case, right, we are constantly calculating our average cost per item, because every time we make a purchase of inventory, we're increasing our total quantity and we're increasing our total cost. So therefore, we need to calculate, well, how much is it going to cost per item, spreading the cost evenly across the total amount of items that I have available to sell. All right. And once again, every time I sell my product, right, and I subtract out my inventory, therefore, I'm going to get a new total quantity and then a new total cost, which once again, I then have to recalculate my average cost per item. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many batches of inventory you purchase. You don't care what came first. You don't care what came last. All you really care about is your grand overall total cost and the total amount of quantity that you have, so you could spread the cost evenly amongst the total quantity to give you your average cost. So then when you do sell your products, it makes it that much easier to calculate. All right. So once again, let's go ahead and dive right into the inventory exercises here. Okay. It's the same exact scenario. However, because we are introducing to moving average, it will definitely be 100% a lot more different than it would be for the first two scenarios. The first two scenarios, they're similar to each other except the way that we calculate our cost of goods sold. This one is going to be different because we're constantly updating our inventory and we're constantly grabbing our totals and we're constantly recalculating our average cost per item. Okay, so let's go ahead and take our first scenario here. Question number 1, your inventory method is perpetual and it is moving average. So let's take a look at the first one. May 5th, we purchased 1,000 units at $3 each with the freight costing you $100. So then the calculations in the middle here for the purchases are the same. But once again, let's just go ahead and dive into our example and we can go forth from there. Okay. So once again, it is May 5th, right? We're going to skip our cost of goods section here and go directly into my purchases. So if I purchase 1,000 units at $3 each with the freight costing $100, what is my total purchase price? 3,000 plus $100 gives me a grand total cost 3,100. And because this is my very first batch of inventory, okay, 310, good, thank you. Okay, so now this is where my inventory on hand is going to change as well, because my idea here is that I want to constantly keep calculating my average cost per item. So in this case, my formula is going to lie in my middle section right here in my average cost per item. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy the information over, right? Right now, I have 1,000 items at costing me a grand total of 3,100, right? So here is where I'm going to be constantly calculating my information. So once again, I am now placing my formula in my cost per item because every time I make a purchase, it's going to recalculate for me. Every time I make a sale, it's going to recalculate for me. So here, I'm going to take my formula here. Once again, it's standard throughout everything, right? It's going to be my total cost of 31 divided by my total quantity. Okay? And there we have it, 310, like we've mentioned before, right? That's exactly what we solved on this section here. But in this case, because the inventory worksheets, right, it just really depends on which method you're using. I decided to just keep it consistent. So I'm going to leave this whole entire row right here next to the total cost. I'm going to keep it blank. I'm going to just calculate my average cost in my inventory on hand. Okay, so there you go. That's my very, very, very first batch of inventory right there. Okay. And let's go ahead and take a look at what happened next. So on May 7th,
you sold 550 units.
okay. So in this case, right, we sold on May 7th 550 units, right? Now in this case, I only have one batch of inventory. So how much is it going to cost me to sell these batches of inventory?
310.
310 each, right? So in this case, I'm going to be consistent and do my equal round formula because I want a rounded number. Okay? So in this case, how much is it going to cost me to sell 550 items at $3.10?
1705.
Hold on. $17.05, right? So good. Now, if you choose to show your work in the middle, that's fine. But because I'm going to show you this way, so then it makes it easier and it also helps you keep track of your inventory as well. So instead of making my calculation or updating my inventory right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this line through and I'm just going to update my inventory in this very line right here by simply doing a calculation, right? If I had 1,000 items, right, and I sold 550 items, what's my total quantity?
450.
450, right? And if I started out with 3,100 and I sold a total of 1,705, what should be my new total cost?
1395.
$13.95, right? And right here, let's now calculate my average cost per item because in this case, right, I have a new quantity and a new total cost. So here, I'm going to take my $13.95 and divide it by my 450. What is my average cost per item here?
310.
310, right? Because in this case, right, I'm only dealing with one batch of inventory. It shouldn't change, okay? But now that I made my change here, right, what I like to do is because I don't want to show my numbers, right? I don't want to get confused that I have this many items on inventory, right? What I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to block it off, right? Black is usually the best way because then here I show that I no longer have 1,000 items. Right now, my new total cost and new goods available is now 450 items. Okay? And the reason why I'm blocking this off is because I use cell references. If I got rid of that number, it would mess up my whole entire cost of goods sold. So in this case, in order to make my worksheet work with me, I'm just gonna block it off as if I don't see it anymore. And this way, right, I don't have to constantly keep moving my page up and down. it makes it even easier for me to go ahead and do my work because as I make a purchase, I'm going to go ahead and follow through along the line. As I make a sale, I'm going to follow my line through. All right. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and see what happened next. So right now, when I made a sale of 550 items, I now have a new total quantity of 450 with a total cost of $13.95. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at what happens next. So on May 10, what did I do here?
Purchase another 150 units.
Purchase another 850 units, okay, at $3.25 with the freight costing $75. So 850 at 325. Okay? 850 at 325 with the freight costing you $75, and this was on May 10th. Okay? So once again, here, what is going to be my purchase price?
$27.62.50.
2767, yes, good. Plus 75 to give me a total cost.
$28.37.50.
$28.37.50. Now, this is where I can stop here because I don't need to solve for my average cost per item here because now I'm introduced to new quantity. Now, what I'm going to do here is, like I've mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and move this number across. And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and add my numbers together here. So I'm going to add my 450, right, to my new batch of inventory of 850. And how much quantity do I have?
1,300.
We have 1,300, right? What's my total cost? If I add $13.95 plus my $2,837.50.
$42.32.50.
$42.32.50, right? So here I have a new quantity and I have a new total cost. So now I need to recalculate my average cost per item. And you know what makes it even more easier if you're using Excel? You can drag that formula all the way down. So then every time you enter information in here, it will just automatically calculate it for you. But I'm going to go ahead and go one at a time. So in this case, right, what is my new average cost per item? And since I have a new total cost of $42.32.50 and a new quantity of 1,300, what is going to be my new average cost per item?
3.2557.
Okay, so this one, right, is going to be where it's unrounded, right? And if I have a total of 1,300 items, if I round now, right, if I round up to 26 cents, that means I'm costing myself money. But if I keep it like this, therefore, every 1,000 items I sell, I'm gaining $2 because it's half a penny that I am off by or that I'm rounding by. Okay? But in this case, right? So now that I have my new number here, I can now eliminate this one. All right? Now, great thing about having those numbers there is that when you do go back to your inventory worksheet and you're trying to, take a look at what happened, right? You could just unblock them and then you could see your progression of your inventory cost, right? it will show you that, okay, I made a purchase of 1,000, I sold some here, then I purchased more, then I sold some here, right? You could see your progression of your inventory on hand. All right. So here now I have a new total quantity of 1,300 goods available to sell and at a total cost of $42.32.50. Right? Which my new average cost is now $3.255769. Right? Everyone good with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's see what happened next. What happened on May 12th?
You sold 360 units.
Okay. May 12th. Pretty straightforward, 360 units. Since I don't care about which batch came first or which batch came last, all I care about is just taking the grand total amount. So how much is it going to cost me per item? What's my cost per item now?
It's 3.255576.
Okay, and this is where it's important to use your equal round. So in this case, what is my equal round? Or what is the total cost of selling 360 items at 3.255769?
1172.07.
Okay, very good. So you have to round up for this one. So 0.8.
Okay.
So now that I have 1172.08, right? This is a rounded number, right? It's rounded to this nearest penny. So now that I sold something, I'm going to go ahead and carry this across, right? Because now, right, I'm going to take my 1,300 available, and since I sold 360, what is going to be my new quantity?
940.
940, right? Now, what's going to be my new total cost? If I started out with 42.32.50 and I sold 11.72.08, what's my new total cost here?
3,060 and 42 cents.
3,060 and 42 cents, right? So now, once again, because I sold something and have a new total cost, or new rounded total cost, now I need to, right, if you used 07, you're definitely going to get a similar number, but now that we used 08 instead, we could have a slightly change in our number. So in this case, what is my average cost per item going to be?
3.8940. Oh, I got different number.
Okay, yes. No, I didn't do it yet, but it shouldn't change that much. It should change probably like by 10,000 of a penny.
All right, 3.2557.
3.2577, and I'm going to go ahead and okay. So here it's now 3.55766. It dropped 10,000th of a penny. Okay. Once again, I'm going to highlight this information and I'm going to block it off, right? So that I don't see it, right? But you can always unveil it, right? I'm just simply filling the cells with black, right? So I don't see it at all. Okay? So good. So that's our new total quantity, new total cost, and a new average cost per item. Okay. So then let's go ahead and see what happened next. What happened on May 15?
You sold an additional 600 units.
Good. So May 15, we sold additional 600 units. What is my average cost per item?
3.255766.
Okay. So once again, equal round. So what is going to be my total cost of goods sold for selling 600 items at $3.256766?
I got 1953.46.
Excellent. Okay. So once again, now that we have these numbers, right, we sold this amount. Now it's just rinse and repeat from here on out, right? I'm going to go over here because now I no longer have 940 items. I have 600 less than that. So what is my total quantity here?
340.
340, all right? If I started with 360.42 and I sold 1953.46, what's my new total cost here?
1106.96.
1106.96, good. Which then, what is my average cost per item?
3.255764.
Good. So here, it also changed. It keeps dropping and drop. Oh no, in this case, it dropped another 10,000th of a penny. Okay. So as I mentioned before, much easier, right? Okay. So then, on May 20th, what happened here?
I purchased 300 units at $3.50 with a freight cost of $20.
Okay, so this is May 20th, right? We purchased 300 units at $3.50 with the freight costing $20. Okay. So what is my total purchase here?
$1,050.
Plus 20.
$1,070.
Okay. So once again, now that I made a new purchase of inventory, right? Now I need to recalculate my quantity. What's my goods available in this case?
640.
Good. What about my total cost?
$2176.96.
Good. Right? Which then brings my average cost to become.
3.4015.
So once again, here because I actually purchased an inventory at a more expensive price, right? Instead of purchasing it at $3.25, it is now $3.50. So therefore, my average cost will definitely increase drastically because now I'm introducing more expensive inventory to my original inventory, okay? So in this case, it jumped up 20, or in this case, 15 cents. Okay? And once again, if I really wanted to, right, if I can unveil this, right, to show me what my inventory looks at like and how I'm progressively going through my inventory worksheet, right? Right here will give you an idea of how many items you purchased, how many items you sold, right? So in this case, I like to leave my numbers here because once again, I'm self-referencing, so it will change my worksheet, but at the same time, I can keep track of my inventory by looking at my answers right here. It's looking at how I made purchases of inventory and how I sold my inventory. So that's what's so useful about this is it gives you a pretty much an overview of what you're doing with your inventory, right? But I'm going to keep it blocked off because I don't want to get myself confused and click the wrong cell. So I want to make sure I block it off. But also to let me know that I don't have 340 anymore. I have 640 now. Okay. All right, so then let's go ahead and see what has happened next. What happened on May 22nd?
You sold 450 items.
You sold 450 items. So here, what is my average cost per item?
3.401500.
Good. All right. Once again, run your equal round formula. What is going to be my total cost of goods sold for selling 450 items at $3.41.5?
I got 50, 30, 68.
Good. Excellent. Right? So once again, now that I have my cost of goods sold here, let's go ahead and update my inventory. So what's my new quantity?
190.
Good. Right? What's my new total cost?
This is 648.28.
646.28.
Yeah, what is 646.28? Yeah.
Perfect.
And the cost per item. 3.4015.
Mm-hmm. Nope, that's great. You just have to keep extending. Right? Block that off because it doesn't exist anymore. I sold inventory. Okay? So then what has happened next? On May 25th.
May 25th, you said?
May 25th, yes. Because we just sold on the 22nd for 50.
So you purchased 650 units at 375 with a freight cost of $50.
Okay, so 650, 375. 650, 375. And you said the freight was $50?
Yes.
Okay. So once again, this was on May 25th. All right, let me double check. 650, 375. Freight was 50. All right. So what's my purchase price here?
2437.50.
2437.50. Good. Plus 50.
2487.50.
Good. So now we need to update our inventory. Okay, because now we made a purchase of inventory. So I'm going to add my numbers together. So what is my new quantity?
840.
84. Good. What is my new total cost?
3133.78.
Mm-hmm. So then what is your new average cost per item?
3.730690.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see what happened next. So then May 27, what happened here?
So 740 units.
We sold 740 units. On May 27, 740 units. So then by May 31st, you should have a total of 100 units left. So let's take a look, okay? So if I sold 740 units, what's my average cost per item?
3.73.
Okay, good. So then what is my total cost of goods sold here?
$2,611.
Okay, I did not get that. Did you round early?
Yeah, sorry.
Anybody match me? 2,760.71?
I did.
Okay. Right. So then last but not least, we need to update our inventory once again, since we already reached the end of the month. So if we sold 740, how many do I have left?
100.
Exactly 100. Okay, good. Now here, what's my new total cost? If I sold 2,760 and 71 cents.
373.07.
Perfect. Bringing my average cost per item to be
Let's see. Oh. 3.7307.
perfect. Excellent. And that is how we do our average cost, right? Or moving average. All right. Simple enough, easiest. Okay. So any questions here?
No.
All right. So let's go ahead and practice the scenario number 2, question number 2. So again, this time we have beginning inventory, right? Because this time we're continuing on from the inventory question from above. And then of course we need to make sure that our inventory method is perpetual and it is moving average. So in this case, right, we want to keep going. Okay, so here it tells us that on May 31st that you had a total of 100 units on hand, right? Which we know. We calculated it. This is what it gave my total cost to be, to a whole total of $373.07. So once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry that information and bring it over into my inventory on hand. What I can do here is I'm going to put my and my ending date for my beginning balance of my inventory, right? So in this case, I have 100 items costing me 37307, I think. Let's see. 37307. Okay. And once again, I'm going to recalculate my average cost per item here because my formula is going to lie in this little window here, which we know is 3.7307. Okay. So that's my beginning inventory. So let's go ahead and take a look at our scenario and see what happened next. So on June 5th, what happened here?
Purchase 800 units at $4 with a $100 freight cost.
Good. So 800 units at $4 each, with a freight costing $100. Okay. So what's my purchase price here?
3,200.
3,200 plus 100,
33.
33. And now since we have new inventory, we're going to update our inventory. So if we started out with 100 and we purchased 800, my total quantity here is
900.
900. What's my total cost?
I got 3673.07.
Excellent. Okay. So therefore, let's go ahead and calculate my average cost per item.
4.081188.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And of course, I want to hide my information here. Right. There we go. Okay, now I have 900 items available to sell. So then, let's see what happened here. What happened on June 7?
You purchased 750 units. Oh, June 7th, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
750 units.
We sold 350 units. So, June 7, we sold 350 units. At what average cost? What's my cost per item?
The 4.081189.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So your total cost is 1428.42.
Okay. $1428.42. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and update and subtract that out of my inventory. So what is my new quantity?
550.
Good. And what is my new total cost?
It is 2244.65.
2244.65. All right. And last but not least, what is my average cost per item?
4.081181.
Good. Okay. So then June 10 rolls around. Right? We purchased a total of 750 units at $4.25 with the freight costing $75. So 750 at $4.25. $750 at $4.25 with a freight of $75 on June 10. Okay. So what's my purchase price?
3187.50.
$3187.50 plus 75.
3262.50.
$3262.50. Okay. So now that I have my total quantity and my total cost, let's add them to my goods that I have already. So what's my new quantity?
$1,300.
What is my new total cost? Whoa, there you go, total cost.
5,507.15.
Good. All right. So then, therefore, what is my new average cost per item?
4.236269.
Good. Right? Because we just added inventory, and this time I purchased my inventory at a very high price. It is now I purchased it at 25 cents more. So in this case, my average cost should also spike up as well. So now that I have a total of 1,300 goods available, let's see what happened on the 12th of June. How many items did I sell on June 12th?
$450.
We sold 450. All right. What's my average cost now, since now I made a purchase of inventory?
$4.236269.
Good. So therefore, how much is it going to cost me now to sell a total of 450 items?
1906.32.
$1906.32. Good. So then I'm going to update my inventory. How much should I now have available? What's my new quantity?
$850.
Good. What's my new total cost? Hello?
We're here, we're calculating.
Okay. I was okay. That was a very, very long pause. Just making sure I didn't lose you guys or we got disconnected.
No, I'm here.
Okay. So here, um, we had $5,507.15, and we just sold 1906.32.
3,683.
3,683 cents. Excellent. So then, therefore, what is my new average cost per item?
4.236270.
So here, once again, change by 10,000th of a penny. Not that much drastic change, but but if we count, like I said, like I mentioned before, if we're selling like thousands of items at one time, you definitely don't want to round early. You're better off leaving it as this, so you don't potentially lose money when you cost it out. Okay. So now that I have 850 items left, what happened on the 15th of June?
You sold another 500 items.
We sold another 500 items. Okay. Take a look here. So June 15th, we sold 500 at what cost per item?
4.236271.
All right. So what is going to be my total cost of goods sold for selling 500 items?
I got 2118.13.
You have to round up for this one, so that's okay. Okay, so 2118.14.
Yes.
Okay, so let's update my inventory. If I sold 500 units or toys, what is my new quantity?
I got 350.
350. Okay. What is my new quantity if I sold $2,118.14?
1,482.69.
1,48269. Good.
Divided by 350, correct?
Mm-hmm.
4.236257.
Good. Excellent. All right. So then, let's see here. Let's see what happened next. So that was June 15th. So what happened on June 20th?
We purchased 600 units. Freight cost $20.
Okay, so 600 at 405, freight 20. So let's see here. 600 at 405, freight of 20 on June 20th. All right, so what's my purchase price?
$24.30.
All right, plus 20,
$24.50.
24.50. Okay, so now that we have our new purchases of inventory, let's update our inventory. So what's my new total quantity?
$9.50.
950. Okay. What's my new total cost?
$39.32.69.
Okay, excellent. And last but not least, what is my new average cost per item now that I purchased more inventory?
4.139673.
Good. Okay. All right. And let's see what else here. So then what happened on May 22nd?
You sold 250 items.
We end up selling 250 items. So May 22nd, we sold 250 items. Okay. At what average cost per item?
4.139674.
Okay. So then what's going to be my total cost of goods sold for selling 250 items?
1,034.92.
Yes. Okay. So now that we sold something, we need to update our inventory. So how much is my new quantity?
$700.
Good. And lastly, what is my new total quantity? Oh, wait, I'm not adding, I'm subtracting. I'm sorry, what is my new total cost?
2,197.77.
Good. So therefore, bringing my new average cost to be
4.139671.
excellent. Okay. Almost finished up here, guys. We're almost done. So let's see what happened next. So what happened on the 25th of June?
Purchase another 350 units, 435 with a freight cost of 50.
350 at 435 with freight costing 50. Yes. 350 at 435 with a freight costing at 50 on June 25th. Okay, so what's my purchase price here?
$1522.50.
Plus $50.
Next one is yours, Sonia.
Sorry, let me get back on track here. 1572.50.
1572.50. Okay, so let's go ahead and update my inventory. So what is now my new total quantity?
1,050.
1,050, bringing my total cost to be?
4470.27.
44.
70.27.
Okay, yes, perfect. Good. And then last but not least, bringing my new average cost per item to be.
4.2574.
So here we are. Now our inventory is getting expensive. All right. We jumped from $3 all the way up to $4.25. So last but not least, what happened on June 27?
So 450 units.
We sold 550 units. Therefore, on June 30th, it should leave us with at least 500 units left on hand. So let's go ahead and calculate that out. Our last cost of goods sold for the month. So here on June 27, we sold 550 units. Oops, not 5,500, 550. So at what average cost per item am I going to be selling my 500 units, 550 units at?
4.257400.
Good. So therefore, what is going to be my total cost of goods sold?
$2,341.57.
Good. So last but not least, our last thing that we have to do is we need to take it out of our inventory and we need to recalculate our average cost per item. So in this case, if I had 1050 and I sold 550, how much should I have left?
$500.
Good. Which, right, is exactly what we should have ended in our inventory with. So then what is my new total cost?
Two thousand
212870.
2128.70. Excellent. Okay. Last but not least, then, what is going to be now my new average cost per item?
$4.2574.
Right, exactly the same. So excellent job, guys, and that is moving average for you guys. Any questions in regards to this? Once again, I think this is, to me, this is the easiest one because I don't have to keep track of what came first or what came last. The only difficult part here is just, having to frequently, calculate my average cost every single time. But if you have Excel or you're using some kind of accounting software, this could be done in a click of a button. So in this case, I could have dragged my formula all the way down. I could do a lot of things to this worksheet, but in this case, right? Excellent work, guys. Do you guys have any questions in how we calculate this?
No.
All right. Any other questions? No? All right. So